We're joined by our friend Jeff Howe from The Athletic. Of course, Jeff, as always, is on the Folsom Lake Honda hotline. Folsom Lake Honda, your one-stop Honda shop. Jeff, thanks for the time, as always. Lots of talk about Brock Purdy and the fact that he has earned the right to be QB1 next season. Do you think Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch will operate as such during the offseason?
Oh, I think so. And I think, it's got to be a competition. Like, you're not going to earn anything right now, unless they go out and win the Super Bowl, and then it's like, how do you bench that guy? But he's been phenomenal. Since he began starting, the 49ers have scored the most points in the league. Like, this isn't just a guy kind of going out there and playing complimentary football and, smart with the ball and no turnovers and just let the defense win games. Like, he's become an actual weapon for the 49ers. He's been outstanding. And assuming he continues this play into the offseason program and into training camp, he won't have anything to worry about. He'll be the starter next year. But I think, we've spoken about this before. The big thing this does is now the 49ers really just don't have to spend that money on Garoppolo or chase after Brady, because they've got their guy and they've still got Trey Lance, who could be the backup and to see what he could offer.
Yeah. Do you think Trey Lance's greatest value to the 49ers, if it plays out the way you're saying, Jeff, is as a backup, or is there some sort of market out there for him to recoup some of what you gave up to draft him?
If somebody comes calling with a first-round pick and Purdy, again, continues to play like he has, like there's no unexpected drop-off or whatever, there's no injury that you've got to maintain in the offseason. Somebody comes with a first-round pick, then I think you owe it to yourselves to really see that through. If they don't, the team has been snake-bitten with injuries for a few years now. So it's like holding on to him as an insurance policy isn't the worst thing in the world either.
Jeff Howe is with us from The Athletic. Jeff, last night, is that the last time we see Tom Brady on an NFL field as QB1?
No, I don't think so. I still think that he's not going to go out like that. I kind of tweeted something like that last night, and the response I got was, oh, well, he fell off the cliff, or he played awful and it's only going to continue to decline. Now, I'm not absolving Brady from some of the performance this season or last night. He made some bad throws. There were times when he was on the wrong page with some of his receivers, but this was an offensive breakdown over the course of an entire season. I feel like a broken record this season when I say coaching matters. That's as it relates to Tom Brady falling off or the Bucs not producing. That's what it means with Mac Jones regressing in his second season. It's what it means when Trevor Lawrence takes a huge step forward with Doug Peterson, and it's what it means when Brock Purdy and Jimmy Garoppolo kind of pick up or really one up the guy who went down before them with Kyle Shanahan. When you have good coaching, it makes all the difference in the world. And when you've got Tom Brady struggling as bad as he did because of bad coaching, that stuff matters. I still think that he's got plenty to give if he goes to the right system.
You brought up Trevor Lawrence. Was that a great comeback in one of the early chapters of what looks like might be a great quarterback in the NFL, or was that the Chargers choking one away?
Look, I was there. So it's always a little bit of both. But from the Jaguars' perspective, I've gotten to know this team a little bit over the last few weeks, and watching them this season, you can tell that they play in belief of Trevor Lawrence. And Doug Peterson, I can tell you for a fact, coaches because of his confidence in Trevor Lawrence. The aggressive play calls, going forward on fourth down, or whatever. Go back to that Jets game on Thursday Night Football in the rain when they're throwing the thing fairly well. Instead of dialing it back when Lawrence had some injury issues, they kept their foot on the gas. And you look at these comebacks. You look at the way that their defense rallies to the ball. Bring all that stuff, all that stuff that we learned about the Jaguars over the last 10 weeks, and put it on the field Saturday night when things weren't going well. No, the defense wasn't playing well, but they were rallying to the ball. And you could see that this team was still playing with a purpose and a belief. And then just talking to those guys in the locker room after the game, that belief in Trevor Lawrence as a franchise quarterback and as a guy who can get them to come back from a 27-point deficit, it's real. And it's not a recipe for sustainable success, especially as you get to this point in the playoffs. But that team, they believe in their guy.
Jeff Howe is on the Folsom Lake Honda hotline. Folsom Lake Honda, your one-stop Honda shop. We believe in Jeff Howe like they believe in Trevor Lawrence. So, Jeff, are we getting closer to a football world where Lamar Jackson is no longer in Baltimore?
I mean, I think it's been realistic for probably a year plus now. I mean, there was some chatter in the league. This wasn't like executives who knew anything, but like watching the situation, watching Tyler Huntley play well down the stretch in 2021, it was like, hey, what if Lamar Jackson continues to have these injury issues? Obviously Tyler Huntley's not as good as Lamar Jackson, but Lamar Jackson was struggling for an extended period of time this season before he basically went down for the year with that knee injury. And I mean, there's a lot of smoke, and the speculation's real. You can put the lighter franchise tag on him for roughly in the ballpark of like $31 million and invite teams to negotiate with him.
Yeah.
And if they do, and they're willing to give up 2 first-round picks, I mean, if they truly believe that Lamar Jackson can be a franchise quarterback, these other teams, non-Ravens teams, compare 2 first-round picks in a contract to what the Broncos gave up for Russell Wilson and some of these other quarterback trades. I mean, that's not a huge price to pay if you truly need to solve your quarterback situation. I think it's realistic.
Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, Jeff, but we saw a reaction to the Deshaun Watson contract and all the guarantees in that when it was given to him by the Browns, and owners and front offices around the league not necessarily happy that the Browns would sort of set that precedent. And that's kind of the wrench in things right now when it comes to Lamar Jackson. Do you think the Ravens are under pressure to not cave to Jackson's demands for that huge guarantee that he's looking for?
100%. And this is a tough one because you can see both ways, because that was an outlier, the Deshaun Watson trade. This was a team. I wrote a big story talking to a bunch of people around the league at some point earlier this season, maybe going into week 1, whatever, just on their thoughts about the way that those two situations are related. Now, the Browns were completely out of the Deshaun Watson trade sweepstakes, so they had to do something extreme, and that was to offer him a fully 100% guaranteed contract, the biggest deal in the sports history. And that was how they got him there. The unique circumstances around that entire situation. Now you bring it to Lamar Jackson, and Lamar, he doesn't have an agent, so he's negotiating on his own, and he has every right in the world to say, I am a better player than Deshaun Watson, and you don't have to worry about any of that off-field stuff that he was carrying with him to Cleveland. So why shouldn't he try to get a 100% guaranteed contract? And then you look at it from the Ravens side and say, you can't compare these two situations. We're not trying to trade for you. You don't have that leverage. Let's bring it down to something closer to Russell Wilson and, some of these other big-time contracts and say, hey, 60% guaranteed is still fair market value. The problem is when you're looking for 100% of the pie and 60% of the pie, that is a canyon of a difference. And it's why the contract negotiations have taken so long. And both sides are within their right to come to the table with those numbers.
Jeff, great stuff as always, my friend. From The Athletic, Jeff Howe. Love catching up with you. We'll do so again next week. Thanks, Jeff.
Appreciate you guys. Have a good one.
You too. There goes Jeff Howe on the Folsom Lake Honda hotline. Folsom Lake Honda, your one-stop Honda shop. And I said all offseason, Ramie. I mean, even before you got here, when this stuff started, that this was the